Hi Magis gang, my name is Majojiba, Maji for short. If you're new here, you are welcome to my channel. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. It's always a pleasure to have you here with me. So I hope everyone's having a good week so far and you are not letting anything or anyone dim your light. I do not say anything in this video with the intent of making any of you skeptical about making a move to Australia. I am just sharing my opinion based on my experience, and also I would like to state that Australia is an absolutely gorgeous place to be, beautiful place to live in, and I would definitely like to visit Australia sometime in the future. It's just that circumstances had it that I had to leave when I had to leave. Today I'm going to be telling you a story about why I left Australia. So grab a coffee, get comfortable, grab a tea, grab water, whatever it is that you need, apart from my beautiful face of course, and let's get straight into the video. In order to put everything into context, let's start from the beginning. How did I go to Australia? So I came to Australia early March 2018 on the visa 476, which I talked about in this video. If you haven't seen the video, do well to check it out. By the grace of God, it didn't take me long to find something to do upon arrival in Australia, so I actually got my first job in Australia in the same month of March. It was a blue-collar job and I didn't have a car at the time, so I was definitely having fun using the public transport under the different weather conditions. Fast forward to May 2018, I landed a white-collar job in a telecommunications company, all to the glory of God. 2 months after getting my white-collar job in the telecommunications company, I bought a new phone. I'm just trying to put everything into context, okay? So just bear with me and try and get the details. Okay, so 2 months after that as well, I was able to buy my first ever car, and to be honest, it seemed like everything was going really good for me and I couldn't be happier. So around July 2018, I started doing some research to figure out a way that I could get the permanent residence of Australia, considering I came to Australia on a temporary visa. In the course of my research, I actually discovered that my program of study, petroleum engineering, was no longer on the list of occupations required to get an Australian permanent residence, and this meant that there was no way I could have applied under petroleum engineering. So I started looking for another option and I stumbled on the job title known as engineering technologist. After some research into the field of engineering technologist, I actually discovered that the requirements to apply for permanent residency as an engineering technologist were a little bit out of my league as well. So there was actually no reasonable way I could have applied as an engineering technologist. So I just had to let that ship sail as well. With so much confusion in my mind, I reached out to a couple of migration agents in Melbourne for counsel, and they all were telling me similar things. According to them, I had two options. Number one, do something miraculous to boost my work experience as a petroleum engineer so that I could get more points, or I could go back to university and study another master's degree so that I could get points for studying a master's degree in Australia. I wasn't going to study another master's degree. Ain't nobody got time for that. And what I actually wanted to study was a PhD, but based on logistics at the time, it was not possible. Therefore, I decided that if it would take me any of those things that the migration agents had told me to get a permanent residence in Australia, I would rather try to look for a way to migrate to another country. So I started going on Google a lot about permanent residency in other countries, and I actually looked at New Zealand first because it's like very close to Australia. And when I was on the website, I wasn't particularly understanding the requirements for the permanent residence, maybe because of how confused I was at the time, I'm not sure. But something about me that I like to stick to is the fact that I do not generally like to make decisions when my judgment is clouded. So I kind of let the ship sail as well of looking into permanent residency in New Zealand. So towards the ending of July 2018, I received a WhatsApp call from someone I knew when I schooled in England. He also schooled in England, and he told me that he was was now in Canada and he came on a permanent residence. I was so excited for him, honestly, but I was curious as well, so I just like asked him, so how exactly did you get your permanent residence? And he told me how he got his permanent residence and also encouraged me to see if the program would also work for me. So I made some research and tried to figure out if it's something that could actually be feasible for me as well. However, when I got to the part of the eligibility criteria that stated the required funds for this particular program, I actually got a little bit discouraged because at that time in July 2018, I freshly came from Nigeria in March and I only started working my full-time job May 2018. So I really had not saved up money to venture into that kind of procedure. So I actually just had to pack it one side and work towards saving more money to accomplish the dream. Also taking into consideration the fact that Canadian dollars is slightly stronger than Australian dollars, so I would definitely need more Australian dollars to get the required amount in Canadian dollars. Still on trying to get an Australian permanent residence, I started looking into studying a health related course, so a course like disability or aged care, because that's actually a pathway. As of the time, I'm not sure what's happening in the country right now as I'm recording this video, but that was actually a pathway I could have considered. However, for some reason, I just couldn't bring myself to committing to studying any of those courses. And I don't know if it's the fact that Australian laws kind of change a lot and you never know what could change by the time you are done with the studies. Maybe the program is no more eligible, or maybe it was the fact that I was just not willing to take unnecessary risk, or maybe it was also the fact that I honestly wasn't just willing to dedicate the amount of time and money it would have required to study any of those programs, because I truly wasn't interested in studying anything disability related at the time, and I also wasn't interested in studying anything aged care. Around September 2018, a very good friend of mine reached out to me and he was so excited. I could tell the excitement in his voice. We also studied together in England, and he just told me that he had applied for the Canadian permanent residence and he was approved, and he would be traveling from Nigeria to Canada. I was so excited because this is actually someone that I know is like my guy. And when they say my guy, he's like my guy. Him getting the permanent residence, like, just woke up hope that it could actually work out for me as well. I literally asked him the same question I asked my other friend. So how exactly did you get your permanent residence? And this guy is my guy, you know, and your people do not keep things from you. So he told me exactly how he went about applying for his Canadian permanent residence. And if you're interested in knowing what I did for my permanent residence, you would just have to wait for the next video, because this video is not about that and you just have to wait for the next video. Okay, so my interest was really piqued by the news that my good friend was going to be in Canada, and I really started saving a lot of money. I can tell you of a fact that back then I was saving about 80% of my salary, which was ridiculous, but it was what I needed to do. And I even started driving for Uber Eats to supplement my income so that I could also get more money to save towards the move to Canada. And I was also taking a lot of overtime at work just so I could get as much money as possible to facilitate the process. I also communicated my plans of migrating to Canada with my parents, and they were so supportive of me. They still are supportive of me even as I'm here, encouraging me with words and prayers. I do not take them for granted. I love you, mom and dad. If you ever watch these videos, I expressed my vision to my parents and they were very supportive of me. They actually threw me a lifeline, which went a long way in helping me save money quicker. Fast forward to December 2018, the government of Australia miraculously decided to put petroleum engineering back on the skilled occupation list. Apparently now people could nominate petroleum engineering and apply for permanent residency in Australia. When I saw this information on a news article, I was actually quite excited and hopeful as well. But I went on the government of Australia's website to kind of get the full gist of the situation, because as you know, the news articles will only give you like the headlines. They will not tell you everything. What I saw there was in as much as petroleum engineering had been put back on the skilled occupation list, the required points to apply for petroleum engineering had even been taken higher. Points were raised to 85. I know 85 doesn't sound like much, but in the Australian point-based system for applying for residency, 85 is quite a high point. It would have actually taken me nothing short of a miracle, because I wasn't going to have 85 points. At the end of the day, I just had to let that ship sail completely and just forget about permanent residence in Australia. I would have really liked to get my permanent residence in Australia, but it did not work out. So it is what it is at the end of the day. I also didn't want to do anything that went against what I believed in and like my moral compass, else there were a couple of options I could have explored. One thing I would like to encourage all of you that are watching up to this point is stand for what is right. If it doesn't feel right within you, please don't do it. Okay fam, that's all for this video. In the next video which I will be posting, I'm going to get a little bit more personal with you and tell you about my permanent residence story, how I came to Canada, and a couple of the challenges I faced during my permanent residence application process. I'll see you guys in my next video, but till then, as always, stay blessed and remember God loves you. Bye.